Welcome to Don't Fear the Weight podcast with your host Vicky Masita, bringing together science and personal experience.
Hi guys, welcome back to the next episode of Don't Fear the Weight with the most amazing, awesome spin-off with my other partner in crime, the other half of the exclusive Titan team, Mr. Luke Andrews. Hello Luke, good morning, how are you?
I'm very well, Vicky, how are you?
Yeah, not bad. So as you guys might have noticed, myself and Luke are the biggest arseholes in the world. However, we come up with some great conversations.
Universe.
Yeah, well, obviously. Oh, universe. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Universe. Making sure we get it right. Thank you, Pinky. We also have nicknames for each other. He is Pinky, and I am, of course, I'm the Brain. Why? Because we are Pinky and the Brain. And together we're going to try and take over the world like we do every night. Anyway, that shows my age. It definitely shows Luke's. So for today,
this relationship's over. You just basically slated me for the first 30 seconds.
But
say something nice.
Something nice.
Okay, that's right. I'll do.
Right. So let's stop being idiots and let's just get on to the subject matter at hand. So Luke, why don't you kick us off? We are going to talk about K.I.S.S. Is that right?
It is, yes.
Go ahead.
My favourite subject.
So go on. Why are we talking about K.I.S.S. and what? Yeah, why are we talking about it?
Yeah, well, K.I.S.S. basically, as many people might know, just stands for keep it simple. And if you want to put stupid on the end like we usually do, then crack on. But it's just because I see so many people in the gym, especially beginners, they read all these magazines, they speak to everybody who think they know what they're doing, a bit like us, and and they overcomplicate things. Okay, basically the long and the short of it is, if you want to get big, you want to put and get stronger, you want to increase your intensity, you want to increase the volume, and you increase the amount of weight that you use, and that's it. It's a bit like nutrition, which I'm sure you'll start talking about in a second. If you want to lose a bit of weight, it's reduce the amount of energy you're bringing in and increase the amount of energy you're expending. It's that simple. I think our little episode today is all about trying to just promote the basics, really.
For sure. Well, yeah, I mean, and this is the thing. So, I mean, your forte is powerlifting. So if for people who kind of missed your podcast beforehand, first of all, shame on you, for missing that podcast. But for people who did miss that podcast, if you just want to give a brief background into your powerlifting knowledge and why everybody should come to you for powerlifting coaching.
Okay. Well, if they don't know that already, then I shouldn't have to explain it. But no, I've basically been in the industry 15 years. I've coached many individuals. I've got one going to the Worlds next week, Danny Malcolm. Also trained Owen Hubbard last year to win gold bench at the World Champs. And he's off the Worlds as well very soon. Just had one guy come back from the World Championship Masters and came top 8, I believe. He's currently sort of ranked number 1, 2 in the Britain as well. I've got about 25 lifters who are competitive at the moment. Majority are sort of national level or above, but that doesn't mean I don't train beginners. I love training beginners because usually they don't have any things to iron out. It's a blank canvas is always good. And I've also been part of the GB team at the Arnold Classic in September 2016 in Spain when I went to help coach with the GB squad of the bench press. So I've got a reasonable amount of experience. This has sort of put me in good stead to help people achieve their goals. So, yeah.
Okay, we'll take that.
Reasonably okay CV, I suppose, but yeah.
It's all right. Okay, cool. So in terms of, let's talk about increasing your power output then in terms of powerlifting. So like you said, a lot of people like to use fancy exercises and try and make things a hell of a lot more complicated than they need to be. Now, there is some technique into doing powerlifting, of course, to make things easier on yourself, especially when it comes to leverages and different size builds and various other bits. And that's all the sciencey bits that we leave to the coaches. However, in terms of actually getting bloody strong, how can we look at things in the most simplest of terms to get better at the 3 major lifts?
I get asked all the time about how do I increase my bench or how do I increase my squat, etc. And a lot of people don't like the answer when I say just get better at the movement. It's like, for example, if you wanted to do 100 meters and get faster, I wouldn't get you in the pool every day. Okay, I'll get you on the track practicing your movement patterns, practicing your spring, practicing your arm movement, your high kick, etc. So it's the same with any sort of particular movement that you're trying to get better at in powerlifting. You have to practice it. There's no good doing squat and then doing sort of front squat and then doing hat squat or Xerxes squat or anything like those lines during the week. Try and just really target one specific movement and try and get better at it, and then you can then isolate the weaknesses that you may have, whether it be mobility or flexibility or actual specific strength issues for that movement, a lot easier and quicker, because you're actually starting to get hopefully technically better at it. And once you're a bit technically better at it, then we can then look at the other facets that's maybe inhibiting your sort of movement pattern. So that'll be point number one. Get your technique sound. And then the other sort of T that I like to use is tightness, because at the end of the day, when we work together, if you have technique but you're not tight, then the technique's not going to be great. If you're tight but you don't quite have the technique, then again you're not really utilizing your body as best you can. So it's all about trying to really figure out what's best for you movement wise to make sure that lift works as well as it can do for you. Now then, once that's in place, and we can start looking at manipulating your reps and sets and the variations that potentially can go with your program to help increase the lift that you're trying to improve on. But until we got those two sort of main things down, your technical ability, how to keep tight, and another one which I'm really trying to promote is sort of stillness and movement. Once those three facets are incorporated into your lift per se, then we can then start increasing your program with regards to assistance work.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. To me it does. But we talk.
Yeah, good. Well, you are the brain.
Exactly. Throw it back. Okay, so let's take the squat then for an example, because if you want to improve on your squat, now say you don't obviously have a program as such and you're just going in and you're trying to do things.
Yeah.
If you want to improve on your squat, now we know you can't squat heavy 3 times a week because you're just going to burn out. So what would you suggest in terms of a really simple method to carry on practicing that particular movement pattern, but without burning yourself out?
Okay, so something I sort of touched on is the daily undulating periodization method. Okay, now this can be as simple as light day, heavy day, medium day.
Yeah.
So, for example, if we really want to target your squat, which we're going to be targeting your squat from next week, so the medium day would be something around sort of 70%. So you work up to, I know for you, roughly sort of 65, 70 kilos. Keep the volume relatively sort of medium to light. So we're looking at 4 to 5 sets, 5 to sort of 7 reps. Now, if you're technically not great, then what we usually try and do is not increase the reps per set too much, because anything sort of over 5, 6 reps, you tend to start really fatiguing anyway, and your technical ability to try and hold that position will diminish just due to fatigue. So if we got someone who's a beginner, then we would probably keep those rep ranges between, like I say, between 4 and 6, 5 and 7 at the very top end. And then sort of a couple of days later, we might do like a light session where it's a bit more sets but less reps to really try and target excuse me, your form. So we can maybe say, right, let's do 24 reps at sort of 65%, and then we would do 8 sets of that, of 3, because we want to make sure we have lots more first reps. So there's no point doing 3 sets of 8, because we're going to get 3 times to actually nail that first rep, which in powerlifting is what you're trying to do. Yeah. I'd rather do 8 sets of 3 and maybe just have the rest periods, for example, between a minute and a half. So you're just enough to recover, but not too much that you're just sort of cooling down just after doing 3 reps on a relatively lightweight. And then maybe 2 or 3 days later, then we can start looking at how your technical and your strength abilities can actually work with doing a higher weight, say sort of 85 to 92.5, 95%, depending where you are in the cycle, and depending on how well you can handle load reasonably well without injuring yourself nearer the 100% mark. So that's what you would do. Just a brief rundown of maybe light, heavy, medium, or medium, light, heavy, something along those lines. Once you do medium, heavy in 2-3 days, probably wouldn't get the best out of it, but the other two sort of formula should be a reasonably good way of doing it.
Cool beans. And how long would you like to keep that going until you want to kind of stop keeping it simple and start bringing in some more, harder work, I suppose?
That's a good question. Probably another topic, but too many people try and figure out what's going to be working on the next program rather than actually figuring out what's working with the program they're on and figure out what's not working. I mean, if you were getting stronger and more technically efficient on this program, then I would keep it for as long as you are getting more strong, more technically efficient. If your weight is getting better, your stillness and tightness is getting better throughout the week or the weeks or the months, then if it ain't broke, I tend not to tinker with it too much. It's only when you hit a plateau or actually your body's getting used to it and you might actually start feeling a little bit sort of fatigued or just stale, then that's when we would probably mix it up. But there's no real set rule on that. Usually beginners, if they really pick it up well, we can then start incorporating it quite quickly. Some other exercises that might help increase their strength in certain areas. Other beginners might really struggle picking up that technique. Again, it depends on that individual and depends on the background, usually from where they've come from. Usually those who come from gymnastics or other sort of sports that tend to know their bodies quite well tend to sort of develop a bit quicker regarding sort of the technical ability. And so we can then start adding some more assistant stuff to help with their strength. So there's no real set rule on that, but it just really depends on how the program's affecting you, and that's when a coach will come in and go, okay, we need to start changing it around a bit to keep that momentum, that progress going, rather than just banging against the door and it not opening anymore. So
for sure. Okay, nice one. Anything else that you want to finish off with in terms of keeping it simple for beginners in powerlifting?
Yeah.
No.
Put me on the spot there. That wasn't in the notes.
This is how everybody knows that we just wing these podcasts. Every single podcast.
We do, yeah. So you've got no idea what I'm going to ask you in a minute.
No, absolutely not.
I mean, if you're a beginner, as you ask, I know this is simple, but there's so many people that don't ask someone who's stronger than them or better than them. Yeah. 99 times out of 100, that girl or lad who has got some time under the bar would love to help train you or love to help just give you some advice about how to do it better, because at the end of the day, no one knows everything. I still learn sometimes from people who've never really picked up the bar. I'm just like, oh, okay, I've never seen that done before, for example. So just be open to advice and then take on board that advice and just see if it's going to be relevant for you. And then the more experience you get, then the better judgment you'll be able to make regarding that. But don't just go in there and just think, or don't just go in there and just follow one routine. Just ask, talk to people, and then really just try and mold yourself in a way until you get to a point where you think, I might need a coach to help you out. So yeah. Brilliant. I think that's probably one of the biggest things. Especially guys. I just alluded to this on my last podcast. You go into the gym who don't want to seem stupid and don't want to ask and just want to try and crack on. But at the end of the day, I think most people would respect you a lot more if you actually just went, oh, excuse me, I've seen you squat to depth and squat really well. How do you do that? What do you do to? And believe me, they'll be more than happy. As long as you don't go to them halfway through the set when they got 250 on there, they're going for a max rep. Ask. Yeah.
Good. That's a really good one. And I can say, and I can really agree with it as well, because like just the other day, actually, I was doing my accessory work, and there was this guy who was lying down on a bench, and he was doing crisscross cables this way. He was lying down. Now, I've tried to do those previously to kind of hit my medial delt or my lateral delt. It's not bloody called medial delt. Everybody tries to be so scientific. Lateral delt.
You're the brain. Come on.
And I can never ever get the connection right by doing that, and it just seems weird because it's a really difficult movement to get, especially from cables. And I just went up to him and I just said, "How does that actually feel?" Because I cannot get the connection between those two. And he actually took the time and just spoke to me about it. Now, I'm obviously an experienced trainee, especially in accessory work like bodybuilding style methods, obviously, because I've done it for such a long time. But I'm not afraid to ask over. And people are now starting to come up and ask me various different things, a lot with technical ability. Because of the simple fact that, you know, I'm not the biggest person in the world, hence the reason why I am known as the Tiny Titan or the Mighty Midget. Thank you, Dave. Whichever one you want to call it. But people want to come up and they ask these questions, and it is good. And I don't kind of take it as like an I know everything, because I still ask questions to everybody else. So don't be afraid to ask questions. And if you want to ask me and Luke any questions at all at any point,
exactly.
This YouTube channel, we'll get back to you. It's no big issue.
No, that's it.
Awesome. So Luke, over to you then. I am now in the question hot seat for the first episode of K.I.S.S.
So, if you saw someone who was struggling with their diet, who was always on the treadmill, sweating their ass off, but not actually, just by looking at them, getting any gains, what would you say to that person who wants to ask you for nutritional advice, but maybe not have the balls to just sort of go up and say, "Look, I'm really struggling here"?
That's a very good question, isn't it? So somebody who's spinning their wheels all the time and then just basically doesn't want to ask for help. Yeah. Exactly the same thing that you just said.
Pretty much, but if someone who's they don't really understand too much about what they're doing, what basics would you give them? Is this the K.I.S.S episode after all, my friend?
It is. This is very true. So, so what I would basically say is, if you think that you are spinning your wheels, you're grinding yourself down, you're in the gym all the time, you're working your ass off, and yet you're not actually seeing the results that you want to see, it is 9 times out of 10 because your nutrition is bang whack out of place.
Agreed.
Now, I've got very, very good friends who look at me and they see what I eat and they're like, "Jesus Christ, I have no idea how you can eat that much because I don't eat as much as you do. And yet look at the size of me and look at the size of you." And the reason is this: they wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning and they'll have a bowl of granola, right? Nothing wrong with granola. I love granola. It's fucking delicious. But that is all they will then eat until about 6 o'clock at night. So then they are that bloody hungry that they start eating and their stomach is like, "Thank God, now I'm not starving." And this little trigger, which is a leptin and a ghrelin hormone, kind of kick off and you're like, "Great, there's food. I'm now surrounded by food, so now I need to eat all of the food." So then just instead of having their normal kind of meat, potatoes and veg and that kind of thing, they then have meat, potatoes, veg, half a tub of ice cream, couple of biscuits, brews, everything else whilst they're sitting down watching TV. So even though they say, "I do not eat a lot," yeah, they don't eat a lot, but what they do eat is highly calorific. And it's because they don't eat enough through the day to stave off that kind of signal by saying, "I'm starving, now I'm faced with a woolly mammoth."
So would you say that's one of the biggest misconceptions about food? Is not necessarily the quantity, but actually the actual density of what they're actually putting in their bodies?
Definitely. There was a really interesting experiment actually that I can't actually remember who did it. I'm not one of these people who can just pluck names out of the air for scientific studies, I'm afraid. But there was a really interesting study that went over, and somebody walked around with a large Domino's pizza. And it was chicken pizza and stuff like that. And they went and asked members of the public how many calories they thought were inside that actual pizza. And the majority of them came up with anywhere between 300 and 600 calories.
Yeah.
For an entire pizza. Now, the thing is, that pizza is cut into 10 slices and is around about 300 calories per slice.
Yeah.
So somebody who thinks that a pizza is 300 calories are off by 2,700. Right? And this is what we're trying to obviously explain. People say, yeah, are you really healthy? Okay, great. Tell me what you had for breakfast. Okay, I had an English muffin with smashed avocado on it, a couple of slices of smoked salmon, and 2 poached eggs. really healthy foods, all these quote unquote superfoods, right? High in healthy fats and that kind of thing, right? No such thing as a healthy fat. It's fat. Fat carries 9 calories per gram.
Yeah.
An avocado, 100 grams of avocado contains 20 grams of fat in it and 200 calories. Right?
I hear you, Vicky. I hear you.
Hey?
I hear you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just when I started doing my plan with you, and I started not semi-long, I started logging, but I wasn't really looking at the results. I was just saying, this is what I eat. What does that look like? And you come back, your breakfast is 1,500 calories, Luke. I'm like, what the? Seriously?
Absolutely.
Man.
Yeah.
Now it's about, you've reduced it to like 600 now, 650, haven't you? But it's sort of staggered a lot more throughout the day, which is obviously why I've actually lost a stone in 5 weeks with you. I'm still jacked. So, so that's all going well. So how would you change? How would you try and encourage people to change their dietary habits then? So if you've got someone who's pretty obese, who's used to eating just a couple of times a day, what would you say to them? How would they go about to go, okay, I need to change my habits. Obviously, I need to change mentally how I approach food. Yeah. What would you recommend?
It is all about habit change. At that point, it's about habit change. So their habit is getting up in the morning, having a big bowl of granola. Now, their granola bowl might actually be something around the 600 calorie mark because granola is very, very calorie dense. It's really tiny and looking pathetic and that kind of thing, but it's just like an avocado, right? An avocado is a fruit and it is very healthy and it is about this big. However, that fucker obviously piles on some calories if you carry on overeating it. So they'll have a little bowl of granola. So what we're going to say to them is, okay, keep that bowl of granola, but I want you to half the portion. And then about 2 hours later, just try something else, just a little something else. And then 2 hours after that, I don't care what you eat, but just have something just a little bit extra. By the time they come to their evening meal, they would have actually kind of staved off that massive hunger fast, almost like intermittent fasting, I suppose, to the point where then they will just have a normal sized meal because they're not going to be that ravenous hungry to go and eat everything that's in the cupboard. Yeah, there is a very, very famous myth that everybody still kind of believes, which, believe it or not, I had the conversation in the gym 2 days ago. So I'm still smashing my head against a brick wall about this. Carbs are bad if you eat them after 5 p.m. Right? Those bastard carb fairies, that's it. They know when it's 5:01. And if you have a gram of carb that passes those lips after 5 o'clock, that's it. The carb fairies are in your system and they're like, I'm just going to lay these down into your fat cells and that's it. You're fat, right? Bollocks. Okay. However, this could actually work to somebody's benefit if they are a carb muncher at night. Now, I've done this on a couple of occasions with a couple of my clients, and they were basically afraid of carbs all day until they sat down in front of the TV, and that's when the pack of biscuits came out.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I said to them was, I don't want you to be afraid of carbs. However, I do want you to be afraid of carbs after 6 o'clock at night. Now, all of a sudden, all I've done is I have just eradicated that packet of biscuits at night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that packet of biscuits is like 1,000 calories, depending on what they have, which biscuit they have. So just by removing that and replacing it with maybe Greek yogurt, I've saved them 800 calories just by saying carbs are not very good for you after 6 o'clock at night.
Yeah, but that's just you changing their sort of mindset and structure, isn't it, regarding what to eat and when, in a way. Exactly. That's just changing their habit from biscuits to actually, I can't have biscuits now because it's past that time.
Yep.
Kept it simple, Vicky.
Exactly, kept it simple. I haven't explained to them about how you metabolize carbs, why it's good to have them at this time, why it's bad to have them at this time. There's no good or bad time. Carbs are not evil. You can have fucking cereal at 3 a.m. if you wanted to. But which is actually yeah.
Have my Cocoa Pops then.
But you can have these things, and it comes down to calories in versus calories out. If some people deal really, really well with carbs, other people deal much better with fats. I am a carb burner. I know that I'm very good with carbs. I know that if I eat over a certain amount of fats in a day of time for me, I don't function very well for that. However, I know a lot of people and got a number of clients who are on lower carbohydrate diets because they work optimally on fats. So everybody is different, but that's not keeping it simple. The fact
but that, if I can just interrupt there, but that's my point regarding the training and the programming. Yeah. This is why there's no one program that fits everyone. This is why you need someone to go, okay, that program's going to work. You know, that I got when I used to train an elite bencher, Owen, I was actually just doing linear progression each week for a guy who can bench over 210 kilos at 85 kilo body weight. But because I was doing it in a certain way, he was getting results. You can believe it. I was just like, well, yeah, we'll just add a kilo and a half each week, because you're still within a weight that you're comfortable with, so your body's still adapting each time. Let's just see where we go. And all of a sudden, he banged out 220 when we thought, okay, this is the session to give it a whirl. Oh, rather than now doing it all fancy, if a guy like that can do it, then that's what's worked for him at that point in time in his training. And that's where someone like, without blowing your own trumpet, that's where someone who's got a good eye and got good knowledge like yourself can go, you don't need those carbs, but you need those fats, or you need a higher protein or whatever. And I'm like, you don't need that up and down daily undulating periodization. You just need to go, all right.
Yeah, constant.
And so it's no one size shoes fits all. And I think that's another thing to keep it simple. You have to figure out what works best for you, and then hopefully that's where people like you and me can come in and go, okay, we've got a bit more experience than you with this because we've dealt with hundreds and hundreds of different types of people, so we can sort of figure out a bit more regarding what path you need to take.
Exactly.
And yeah, I think that's a big one as well. You can't compare yourself to other people. You just need to focus on what works best for you.
Absolutely. Really love that. And I think that's a good note to end it on, because we have been yabbering on for half an hour. So I think that's...
Really? Oh my God.
I know, crazy, right? It goes so fast. So myself and Luke are going to be back every fortnight to give you a little bit of an update on what we're doing, on what our athletes are doing, and what we are doing in the terms of keeping it simple. So guys and girls and brains and pinkies alike, if you have any questions whatsoever regarding nutrition, powerlifting, bodybuilding, exercising in general, then please obviously put them in the comment section, send us a WhatsApp, send us a DM on Instagram, blah blah blah, whatever it is, and we will get back to you and we'll answer them on here. So that is it from us this week. Luke, thank you again. Signing out. Okay, remember to get these guys. We need these screenshots. Tag us in them, and cool. That's it. Stop it. Right, I will catch up with you guys next week. See you later.
Cool,